Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in theatrical films. Each week, my co-hosts Christopher G. Mohr and Brian W. Smith will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings, and tonight we are reviewing Prey, streaming on HULU. Yes, this is the Predator film that should have went to the theaters, but we're going to talk about it now. All right, let's introduce the rest of the crew, starting off with award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
What's up? What's up? You know, if it bleeds, it.
Oh, wow!
I was like, this is why I was not in the movie, or any movie for that fact. I'm doing great. I don't have a career in acting anytime soon, but damn it, that's why I'm a director.
You're still better than I am. Thank you. All right. Also joining us is New York City Horror Film Festival judge and screenwriter Brian W. Smith. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. Sorry for the sirens. I don't know if you hear sirens outside. I'm in New York.
Yeah.
I had to prove it.
Just bring New York with you. Just bring them to us.
Just to prove it, I brought the ambiance. Yeah. Thanks for having me back. I'm glad to be here and talking about pretty good movies, actually. So.
Pretty good movies, yes. Yeah. All right, let's welcome Dave Dreher. Oh, my man.
I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to be here. I'm sorry. I'm just hanging around.
No, we love having you here. Thank you. Come. No, what are you talking about? How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. I love the shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Fright Rags.
Fright Rags.
Free commercial.
Yeah. Not a sponsor, damn it. All right.
Could be.
We are here to review Prey. What we're going to do is we're going to start off giving you our first impressions. Those first impressions will be spoiler free. And then we're going to dive into a discussion. We will get into spoilers. We'll get into surprises, plot twists, anything we want to talk about. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we would like for you to, if you enjoy this review and many others that we have on the site, that you hit the subscribe button or hit the like button or share with a friend. Free and easy to do, and it helps us out so much. Thank you. And of course, we'd love to hear your comments down below. All right, let's take a look at the card and get things going. Prey from 20th Century Studios. Got to say that right, I guess, / pseudo Disney. Available streaming on Hulu beginning August 5th, 2022. The synopsis is the origin story of the Predator in a world of the Comanche Nation 300 years ago. Naru, a skilled female warrior, fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators to land on Earth. Directed by Dan Trachtenberg, written by Dan Trachtenberg and Patrick Aison. Based on characters created by Jim Thomas and John Thomas. The cast includes Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers, Dane DeLegro, Stormy Kipp, Michelle Thrush, Julian Black Antelope, Stephanie Matthias, Bennett Taylor, Mike Patterson, one or the other, and Nelson Lees. I did great with whatever.
With the normal names, that's when when you
struggle with John Thomas. There's something wrong, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I do have a condition, but we'll just leave that hanging there. Guys, let's get into this. What is our first impression? And we're going to let Dave Dreher go first.
Ooh, I get to go first again. I'm so lucky. I really enjoyed this movie a lot, actually. Never been a giant, huge fan of the Predator films. I mean, they're good. You know, how could you not love the first one, right? But it's not like I wait for bated breath for each new Predator film that might come along. But I found this one to be very well made. Although some of the CGI effects were a little iffy a couple of times, but not bad. And the story was great. I thought the story was fantastic. And what's that? Is her Midthunder is her last name? What was her first name?
Amber
Midthunder. She is exceptional in this. And there were some of the cinematography was actually kind of breathtaking. Some of the those long scenery scenes and stuff were fantastic. So I really enjoyed it. I actually want to watch it again. I've only got to see it once so far. I want to check it out a second time, but I came away satisfied.
Came away satisfied. Yeah, it's got some gore too, there, sir.
Yeah. Some of the CGI blood's a little rough though.
Nah, well.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Brian,
It is.
Brian, what's your first impression of Prey?
First impression of Prey, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's a nifty little, fast-paced actioner. When I think of Predator movies, I often think of I may revisit them, but I think of Predator 2, and looking at my watch, like, when is this over?
No.
But this one was really good, and I think I agree. Amber Midthunder, she stands out. It's really her movie. She does a really good job. My only minor gripe is that I thought it was going to be fully in Comanche. When I press play, I thought it was going to be a little more, just a little more authentic. But I understand there is a Comanche dub. I watched it on Hulu, so there is a Comanche dub on Hulu.
There is a Comanche dub, yeah.
I think it's more just the language, but it's not necessarily them speaking it. So I guess they didn't film it in that way. I guess that's what I was anticipating, sort of like a real authentic, even almost like dialogue free in some ways. I was waiting for that kind of Predator movie, but it's still fine. If they went the full route to get more viewership, but I think it would have been cooler if it was just a little more like, we are there, we're just watching it, and the camera's just documenting it. But it is what it is. It's fine.
It is what it is. Not what I was expecting. All right, Christopher G. Mohr, what's your first impression of Prey?
I thoroughly enjoy this. I think it's one of the better horror action films of the year for me.
Nice.
I think to take something that is so well known and almost to the level of parody. I don't know how many times you see that meme of the original Predator where the hands go and you see like the muscles.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's there's so many elements that, like, get to the chopper. I mean, there's like so many parts of Predator films that, whether it's Predators versus Alien or any of those type of things that are sort of very prevalent in our society and culture itself. And so to sort of tell a story that's in that world, but tell it in a fresh way, where, like Brian was saying, that like you don't even need to you don't even need to see any other Predator films to understand what's happening. They still have those elements that kind of like show you what a Predator kind of is and his abilities. But it's all told through storytelling and you don't really have to have any kind of previous knowledge to understand what's happening. At the same time, there are elements that are callbacks to those films. There's a callback to Predator 2. There's a callback to the Predator film in general, and whether it's dialogue or specific scenes. But I think this is really a well-crafted story that does a really great job in taking that story that's been told in different ways, but telling it in a different environment, within this Comanche tribe, and not treating it like they treat, Native Americans in films of yore and in olden times, where it's more almost like parodic, and it's not really a real genuine look into that kind of society and the people there, where they're just normal people, and I love that, and it has moments of tension. There's moments of action, and the biggest gripe I have for this, it was not in a theater. It's not in theaters.
Yeah.
Because, and I know I actually had some people commented on one of my posts. They actually got to see an early, I don't know if it was the red carpet, an early showing of it, and they saw it in a theater, and they talked about how everybody was cheering. Because there's moments where I cheered in my living room, and I can only imagine being surrounded by groups of people and cheering and like, yeah. Or everybody's like, oh gosh, is she gonna get out of this specific situation? Or I feel like after watching this movie, you're gonna, you don't need to wear hats saying "Make the Predator scary again," because this Predator is like Jason times 10.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
He's so badass. He doesn't have to wear that much clothing. He just wears a bone on his head and goes around and slashing people left and right. He's got all kinds of like weapons that, that are defensive and offensive at the same time. I mean, he's got so many crazy things that he's like just slashing people, cutting people in half, blowing people up. I mean, it's like, oh crap, man. I don't know what I would do. I would crap in my pants if I ever saw that. And I think, you know, and just like the original Predator film, where, you know, you can have all the guns in the world, but it comes down to just your wits and trying to figure out a way out of the situation. And you know, when it comes to the Joseph Campbell hero's arc, this is a perfect embodiment of that in this film. So I enjoyed. I thought the acting was great. Amber Midthunder, I just want her in all the action films, kicking ass.
Yeah.
And I love this environment where I would love to see them return in another film, you know. But yeah, I enjoyed this. And also kudos to Dan Trachtenberg. I've been following his career ever since he was on this show called The Totally Rad Show back in the day, a nerdy show. And just follow him where he was like directing stuff. He did like this, it was like a short film based on Portal. Right? He did a Portal short,
yeah,
based on the Portal video game called Portal No Escape that really got people looking at his stuff. And right after that, he directed 1010 Cloverfield. You know, and he directed an episode of The Boys. He's directed an episode of Black Mirror, and he is a really he knows his stuff. And I think he really did a great job in bringing this sort of story to life, because there's like Dave was saying, there's some really beautiful scenic type shots, you know, where you see the vastness of this environment, you know, the trees and stuff. And you see that little person walking and stuff, you know, like Lord of the Rings level, just really beautiful shots in this. That, and also shots that put you in the midst of what's happening, you know. There's moments where it's like, I don't want to go out in the woods if there's going to be a bear like that.
Oh my God, the bear!
When a bear's given the predator a run for his money, you know it's a badass bear. So anyway, I enjoyed this movie so much. I know people have already watched it several times on Hulu, and I just hope all this word of mouth makes them put it out in theaters, because I will go see it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I even like the bad Predator movies. I even like the Alien versus Predator movies, even though they are, you know, arguably really sad and bad. But I don't know. I just love monster movies. You know, this is like the monster movies we got in the 80s, right? And now, you know, they're still here. And I really think they've finally done something fresh with this. This is the Predator movie I think we've always wanted, right? We wanted this character to be like this. And as much as I have a soft spot for Predator 2, it is kind of closer to what Brian was saying it was. But you know, I don't know. I still have a soft spot for it. I love this. What really makes this movie special is the director and the cast. And you know, I love 10 Cloverfield Lane, and I thought he did a great job with this. He needs to be directing more films. Somebody needs to hire him right away. And Amber Midthunder and Dakota Beavers as the brother and sister are so powerful in this and so good. And I cared about these characters, right? And that's the big thing. I cared about these characters, and I don't think since the first one that I gave a crap about any of the characters, right? You know, it was all about the Predator. You know, what kind of damage will the Predator do? And here, I wanted the characters. I wanted them to survive. I wanted them to win. It's an underdog kind of story, but it totally makes sense. You know, this Amber's character Naru is you know, she's a standout character in her tribe as a female. You know, because she wants to lead, not follow, right? And I love that aspect of it. I love, you know, the scenery. I love the different places where the battles happen, like the burnt out forest or the camp. It's just, or the field, right? It's just amazing stuff. Or the stream when we first see. Oh man, the battle with the bear is so. Yeah, you could go about the CGI because sometimes it's a little obvious, but at the same time, it's just like. The action and the way it's filmed, you know, from the beaver, you know, because she's in a beaver house, right? Right,
Beaver dam.
A beaver dam, and she's watching a beaver house. She's in a beaver dam, and she's watching it through, you know, the sticks, and it's just so wonderful the way it's portrayed that way. This is a great film. It's going to definitely be one of my favorites of the year. I really enjoyed this. Really did. Well, let's spend a few minutes talking about some of the specific events. Dave, I was surprised you didn't say anything about the gore until the very end when I mentioned it, but there is some wonderful gore in this movie. Even though you said the blood was a little fake, the amount of limbs and body parts and is astonishing. It's definitely
impressive. yeah, for sure. And not all the CGI was bad. There was just some. The first time I really noticed it was that scene where where they're running through the field, and it catches up with the first. I can't remember what it is. It was one of the hunters or whoever it was, and it just looked really bad. I mean, it looked like CGI blood. If you needed a definition of CGI blood, just look at that.
Okay.
That's it. That's what CGI blood looks like. But other times, like the bear, I thought the bear scene was fantastic. That was great. And some of the high octane action stuff was unbelievable. Some of the fight scenes were, especially there towards the end with the brother, sister, and the predator.
In
that camp. I mean, that was great stuff. I mean, it really was. Just the choreography alone, I can't even imagine how they pulled it off.
Yeah, and she totally was a badass against all those French soldiers when she snuck back into camp. She's going back. It's a story about a girl and a dog.
Well, and also I think
I love that dog.
Yeah, the dog's which I've heard the dog was a lot to deal with, but because it was an adopted dog, but they never could get it to do exactly what they wanted it to do. I will say, I think the one thing that sort of like actually did a little bit better job than the original Predator is actually the CGI around the Predator and how they had certain parts of him like
shimmer,
shimmer, or like when he's in that sort of burnt down forest and there's ash that's hitting him and it's like blink, 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 you know. There's moments like that where, or even just like how they almost created a texture to his camouflage, you know, because there's parts where you see animals on the other side of him, you know, because you get that one cool scene where you see the cyclical, or not the cyclical, but just the hierarchy of predators in society. You get to see a bug, a rat kills a bug, a snake kills the rat, the predator kills the snake. And the way they sort of created that to where it looked even better. You know, I mean, of course, technology is so much better than what they used to, you know, and thank God we don't have that big red lobster thing that we had in the original Predator was supposed to be, where Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to be that. But I think even the look of the Predator, the practical look of the Predator, actually just makes him look scarier and creepier. Although I also could see there's probably fan fiction about that as well, where people are like, ooh. But yeah, I just loved the technology, the new technology and stuff he uses. But yeah, I don't know. There's just so many great things, I think, visually. Now I will say, like, I think where the CGI kind of showed it a little bit for me, the CGI blood didn't bother me as much. I think there's a few parts where you see animals moving, like there's one part where like the lion or whatever.
The lion,
the lion
that looks very CGI, but it didn't take me out of the film. I kind of noticed it, but it didn't take me out of it. And I think, you know, that kind of stuff, in order to get animals to do certain things, you're probably gonna have to do that. You know, you're gonna have limitations. So that didn't bother me as much. But that moment where the bear's beating the crap out of the predator.
Oh, that was so great.
And the bear thinks he's won, but then it's like, then when he kills the bear and that blood,
like rains blood on him, it
looks so freaking cool, you know. So yeah, I just love how those moments where they'd either show the camouflage element of the predator, or he'd be revealed by certain ways, you know, whether that be him stabbing in certain parts, or certain parts of it would be highlighted. But yeah, I think a lot of that stuff, how they worked it in, just worked well, and worked well with other stuff where they're fighting as well, to where you could believe they were fighting, you know, some badass alien.
And some great gags with the shield, both in what it could do, and when one guy shot him and he just put the shield up and it hits him in the head. That was great. But when I was like, when he had the shield on Naru, and he's going through the rock.
Yeah, with the rock.
Oh
yeah,
man, I was like, oh God.
Oh, and I will say, can we all applaud bringing quicksand back into movies?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know about you guys. Back in the day, quicksand was always the scariest thing. Like in the 80s and 90s, you see every film would have some quicksand on it.
Every walk in the woods, you fear that quicksand.
Yeah. We don't have those anymore. And this makes...
you don't hear about it much anymore.
Yeah, and I hate to make this joke again, but it makes quicksand scary again.
That's
one of the most tense moments because I just have this fear of like, being
drowning in mud. Yes,
and drowning in mud is even worse than water. So that scene I think was a very effectively done scene where you're like, oh God, please get out of this.
And what is so unexpected too. I mean, who's thinking of quicksand, right? I mean, all this shit going on, you're not even thinking quicksand. I mean, what the hell?
Right, and of course, it has to. You got to bring mud into it because of the original, right? So you knew it was good. You knew it had to be introduced and had to be
when
around.
She's covered in mud, I was like, I almost thought, well, maybe that's a way that she's going to be able to fight the predator because maybe the predator come up on her and she's covered in mud. But again, how they figured out a different way to do that sort of cooling thing of the body.
With that flour. Yeah.
The flour thing.
I think again is another great way that they sort of did the same type of thing, but in a different way and made it new.
Yeah.
And I like too how at the beginning of, I'm sorry, Doc, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like how she used the weapons when she would end up with them, how against him, from the skull to the little fold out thingy that was stuck to the guy's leg and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, she was very intelligent on figuring out how this technology worked. I thought it was good. What I was going to say, Doc, was I thought it was great at the beginning too, where she thought seeing the alien spaceship coming down was like a sign from the gods that she
was a phoenix. That was a phoenix.
Meant to go. She was meant to go become the warrior she was. She knew she was. So I like there was a couple of those moments like that too. Like when she's in the teepee with, I don't know if it was her mom or her grandma, and she says, "Why do you want to hunt?" It's because none of you think I can. It's just like, yeah, I like it.
And of course, gotta love when she brings the predator head back and throws it at the chief. Throws it on the floor at the chief's feet, I should say. The actors in this, she is a find. She is Amber Midthunder. One, she has a great name. Two, she needs to be in more films. She is amazing. I was really impressed by her.
She has so much depth and flexibility in her abilities in playing this character, whether it's scenes where she looks like she's scared or where she's like, badass fighting or feeling sad. I mean, there's like so many different, we get to see so many different elements to her, as an actress in this part, because her character has that normal kind of arc you want to see in most of these action films where you go from somebody who they feel like can't do the job and then she's got to step up because everybody else doesn't see what she sees, but yeah, she's so great. And all the cast around her, whether it's her brother, who's I think is pretty badass himself.
Yes, Tommy. Yeah. Dakota Beavers.
And the other characters, who are there for predator fodder at some point.
Well, speaking of that, when she's with her, the other members of her tribe, right? And they've actually tied her to the tree because she's being so rambunctious, right? They just don't understand her. But then the predator shows up and they're fighting, and they put on a good fight, but the predator just tears them up. And that was an incredibly well choreographed, intense scene, especially when she's trying to get to her knife, the hatchet, so she can cut herself free. Really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Well, and also just we have that also separate group of French, whatever they're traders or whatever they are, where there's no subtitles for what they're saying, but you could sort of know what they're saying.
You got the tone. You definitely got the tone.
But at the same time, it puts you in her shoes because she doesn't understand what they're saying, So I kind of like that aspect of it, where you don't necessarily have to translate everything everybody's saying. But then it just added this extra element of people that, they'd also sort of figured out something else is going on out there. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, there's, and then it also added to sort of like, we have all these things that are happening in the forest, and then we get the moment where there's a burnt down forest, and it creates this visual element that looks so cool and just adds so much when they're having to fight within the midst of all this sort of ashy grayness of this forest.
And the predators jumping through the tree stumps or whatever, the burnout trees. It's really good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Dave Dreher, as you know, you are.
I get to go first. Yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot. I think it's a great entry into the Predator franchise. Fantastic acting by Amber Midthunder. She definitely comes out as being the shining star of
the VIP
production. Yeah, and Dan Trachtenberg shows that he still knows how to make a movie. Yeah, I'm going to go high on this one. I'm going to give this a 4.5. I enjoyed it a lot.
Wow, nice.
And favorite scene, Christopher mentioned it, so I'm going to say it first. It's definitely the scene where the predator disembowels the bear and lifts it above his head and lets it drain down over top of him. That was just way too cool.
Yeah, well timed too. It was a good point to put it. Yes. All right, Brian, how you doing?
I'm good. I'll give this one I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Even though I would have liked it to be even more authentic to its time. I guess they had to crank it out and get it out in front of us, so that's fine. It's well made. I knocked maybe a couple of points because of the CGI blood and the CGI lion. Those things they did kind of, I furrowed my brow a little when I saw it. But other than that, I think I was like, I don't know if I approve. I appreciated Amber Midthunder's performance. I thought she was really good, and I think the character is really good. I've heard I hear there's some pushback from fanboys online. I haven't seen it. Maybe I'm not following the horrible people, so that's a good thing because I'm completely sheltered from all of that. My impression is that everyone's really enjoying the film and enjoying the performance and enjoying the character and all that. And I think his name is it Dave Dreher as Predator? I thought brought some really great physicality to it. Actually, during a lot of the gore scenes and fight scenes, I just kept picturing, who would we want to see more versus like this Predator versus I don't know the latest Leatherface from the Netflix Texas Chainsaw. I just throw I don't know, whatever. Just at this point, who cares? Just throw them all together. My favorite scene. I guess I'd have to. Well, anything involving the dog. I really like the dog, but I'll say, I'd say the ending when they're sort of going up against the predator and the dog is there kind of helping and
the dog has a big part in it.
There were moments where I was like, are they CGIing the dog for certain reaction shots, because the dog was given some very human reaction shots in some early scenes. Take a look at, I focus on the dog usually because I love dogs, but there are some moments where I think she's like next time you cook, and the dog gives her a look, it's a very comedic look. I'm like, wait a minute. But I like that scene when the dog sort of comes in, because I'm always on pins and needles when a dog's in possible jeopardy, and thankfully they will live to be a Saturday morning cartoon or something. Hopefully, these two characters. I don't know. I'd love to see more adventures of Naru and her dog.
Yeah, they definitely do away with animals, and there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to like it because of that.
Maybe it's the CGI animals. Maybe they figured,
but thankfully the dog does survive.
They spared the dog. Thank God.
We will spoil that. The dog lives. All right, Christopher, your final thoughts, your score, your favorite scene.
I'll tell you what, they can kill all the snakes they want because I hate snakes. I think if anything, this made me kind of wonder what Dan Trachtenberg would have done with the Uncharted movie he was supposed to have directed.
My goodness.
Because I think he has a really good sense of action with this film. Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed this film. I think it's entertaining from beginning to end. And I think, you look at the sort of like the masculinity, the crazy masculinity of the original Predator film that has, and then you have this, which has its own sort of element of sort of like, heroic nature of characters that doesn't necessarily have to be something that we normally see, and taking it to a totally different environment, totally different time period, and taking a set and making it very interesting, but not making it one of those things where it feels like a caricature of that environment. You have these real characters that are basically feels like different variations our own lives. You know, you always have that one overbearing brother or sibling, or, you know, or the other people that feel like you can't do that, you know. But yeah, this film has so many great moments. It has humor, it has action, it has tension, has moments that are going to make you cheer, moments that will make you like, oh crap, I don't want to be in that situation. And also just a badass villain from beginning to end. That Predator is, I feel like he's even more evil and villainous than the original and then any of the other films put together. So yeah, I think they've crafted a really great movie with a really great cast, a really great story that, you know, I really hope that this opens up the door for Amber Midthunder to sort of like be in other types of films, because I think she's definitely one of the big sparks that sort of you know, creates this fire of a movie that's, you know, so entertaining. And really, it's sad that the pandemic it sort of kind of forced this film to be released on Hulu. Or at least it would have been nice if it gotten a theatrical release.
Yeah, it also might be politics too, because but you know, Disney buying 20th Century Fox. But
there's that too, which is one of the bad things of Disney sort of buying that. They don't have confidence in that.
Hey, at least they're putting it out though.
Yeah, and and anybody who's having that same thing of like they had with Rey with Last Jedi, or any of these type of films where you're like, oh, you know, trying to compare, all these people trying to compare, or like a few toxic fanboys are trying to compare it. Let me slap it. Stop it. Just stop it. This film's badass. I can't say enough good things about it. You know, despite my nitpicks with probably some of the CGI, this gets a 5 out of 5.
Oh,
me.
nice.
I mean, I'm just fully entertained. I was in from beginning to end. I can't wait to watch this film again. And I hope that, I hope we see other films. I know one of the interviewers that asked Dan Trachtenberg if they, because we didn't mention it, but the gun that shows up in it is actually from Predator 2. And somebody mentioned, it's like, have you thought about doing spin-off stories of all the different weapons that are in that ship in Predator 2? Because there's like samurai sword. Can you imagine a Predator going samurai?
Yes, I can imagine that.
Can you?
Awesome.
Yes.
And if you need a director, I'm available. Or Dan Trachtenberg can direct it. But I mean, if anything, I mean, I definitely love the cast of this, but I would love to see other. You know, what if Amber Midthunder went on the ship and she went to another, you know, planet or something? I don't know, but there's so many great things. As for favorite scene, I'm kind of torn between two different things. Can I do two?
Sure.
Okay.
There's plenty of scenes.
Okay. One of my scenes, I just love the visualization. I talked about this earlier. I love the visualization of showing the hierarchy of predators.
Oh, nice.
And it's all done in one long shot where you see like the bug, and then the rat eats the bug, and then the snake eats the rat, and then the predator just takes the snake and just rips his spine out. I just love that to visually do that, to show it without somebody coming in, you know, this predator is the most badass predator, you know? So you just see that in one long shot. And I have to say it, I just love that we got quicksand in a movie again.
Yes, I knew you were going to do that.
And I love the tension of that scene. I felt it, because that would be, as someone that grew up thinking quicksand was the worst thing, and thinking mud might be quicksand. And I've been trapped in mud before. So you've ever gotten your feet trapped in mud? And I was like, oh crap. And then just her trying to figure her way out of that. With her sort of, I loved her makeshift weapon, by the way. Yeah. And Brian, you were talking about like you love the dog. Someone make a video game where it's her and her dog.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Didn't that feel like a video game type thing?
A game, or
it was like Last of Us or something. And I feel like they should make a game where they're fighting predators showing up. Anyway, let me not give enough ideas so Disney steals them all. Yeah, those are my two favorite scenes: the quicksand scene, and then the hierarchy of predators scene.
Yes, two great scenes. thoroughly enjoyed this film, and we also got at least one line from the original one, and Tavi gets to say it, and it was
Leads.
yes, and it was well placed, well delivered, and that's how you do it. That's how you don't. It's not corny. It actually makes sense in the context of the story, and it was. Oh man, we didn't get the you're the one ugly mother. Yeah, we didn't get that one, but I'm okay with that. Or there wasn't any choppers.
Chopper. Well, unless there's a guillotine, because there were French there. So
yes. So anyway, for me, it's like I said, it's the human element here, right? The monster is great, and I love it. And yes, Christopher is actually a scary predator, but they did make Predator scary again. But without characters that you care about, it may not add up. And with this, I did care about Naru, and I did care about Tavi, and and the dog, and I wanted them to survive. And when one of the saddest, I didn't want Tavi to die, but it was pretty obvious that it was kind of foreshadowed that was going to happen. But it was heroic, and it was also well placed in time. So yeah, I was going to give it a 4.75, but it wouldn't be hard for me to be convinced to give it a 5. I really love it. This is definitely in the top 10. It's probably cemented in the top 10. This is a crazy year. There is a lot of good stuff. It's going to be hard. We got 4 more months. It's going to be difficult to narrow it down to 10 this year. Really, really good stuff. And this is one of them. My favorite scene, I'm going to go with Naru heading back into the French camp to save her dog. And she takes out all the French soldiers. And that's heroic. That's heroic. It didn't even involve the Predator. Well, except for one little point. I mean, toward the end it did, but not up until then. And it was just her and her, the way she handled herself, the way she fought them. You could see the intelligence, the way she reacted. She used, she's obviously the smaller, right? No offense, but she's the underdog in that fight, and she uses their strength against them and stuff like that. And really, really, really powerful scene, I thought. That was as action-packed and fun to watch as the scene where they put them in, tied to the tree, and the Predator comes and takes out all the soldiers there. Both those scenes are equally thrilling and fun to watch for different reasons. So good stuff.
Is Naru technically a Disney princess?
I was gonna make that joke earlier.
I guess so. Interesting.
Did you watch the end credits?
The animated end credits, it does lead you to believe that something else is going to happen.
Like
yes,
several ships.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the end of
the animated credits, you see like the cave drawings or whatever.
Interesting.
There's a part where they're looking up and there's like 3 Predator ships. I was like, oh crap!
Wow.
When are we going to see this movie?
Yeah. All right, well, there you go. That's our review of Prey. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. And if we definitely want to hear your comments down below. Dave, thank you for joining us. You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Christopher,
thank you for allowing me.
Christopher, Brian, thank you for allowing you.
Allowing you? Like, what do you mean? We're always welcome.
But with that, let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.